Time magazine has given a 2019 Time 100 Most Influential slot to a pioneer who claims to have switched sex, and who claims the male penis can become a female penis. India Moore claims to be a transgender woman, despite Moore's male body. Moore tweeted in February, "Naturally, Moore's logic ensures a woman who claims to be a man also converts her vagina into a male vagina." Yet Moore's female penis claim reflects the reality that very few men who are trying to live as women actually undergo genital surgery. A Pentagon report commissioned by former Defense Secretary James Mattis said rates for genital surgery are exceedingly low, -2% of transgender men and 10% of transgender women. But Time's editors endorsed this transgender ideology by declaring Moore to be a Time 100 pioneer. They also hired another transgender activist, Janet Mock, who is living as a woman, to write a flattering profile of Moore. The profile, as expected, completely accepts the revolutionary claim that a person's sex depends on their changeable mood, not their biology. Mock wrote, "I met India Moore 3 years ago at a film screening, where, eyes brimming with tears, she told me she loved me. For the next 90 minutes I could concentrate on nothing but India. This is her gift, the ability to transfix you with her vulnerability and boldness, beauty and intellect. In India, I see elements of our foremothers, the beauty of Sir Lady Java and Tracy African Norman, the brazenness of Miss Major and Sylvia Rivera, and the indelible warmth and spirit of Marsha P. Johnson. She is the living embodiment of our wildest dreams finally coming true." The praise, however, completely ignores the reality of biology and the existence of the complementary male and female sexes. It also ignores public opinion, which wants to treat transgender people decently, but does not want to upend the rules of science, society, child development, healthcare, and much else to inflate the status of the very few people who want to live as members of the opposite sex. One cost of this female penis claim is paid by lesbians who increasingly find themselves being pressured to accept sex with self-declared women who have male sex organs and who describe themselves as lesbians. Many anecdotes of sexual pressure are provided in a new survey report by an UK-based lesbian group, Get the L Out. Lesbian women who were in groups that were not women only reported feeling silenced, intimidated, unable to speak freely, uncomfortable with the group policy and wishing the group was for women only but dare not say it. Several reported how trans women derail and monopolize the discussion to be solely about their issues while shutting down discussion about women's or lesbians' issues by calling it transphobic. Group dynamics are described as toxic. Several women explain how trans women are behaving just like men. Lesbians constantly report being told their sexuality is wrong if they openly state they are solely attracted to women. Women reported threats, intimidations and abuse, by trans women and allies. 50% of the respondents reported being pressured or coerced to accept a trans woman as a sexual partner. Much of this pressure happens online. Lesbians are routinely harassed for stating that their sexuality excludes males regardless of their gender identity. Most respondents reported being subjected to such rhetoric directly or indirectly, and have experienced it as a form of psychological coercion, with the general feeling that it is online everywhere and relentless. Many lesbians reveal leading a double life where their lesbianism is toned down. Many have no social life or meet underground and explain how difficult and dangerous it has become to meet other lesbians. Lesbian dating sites are infiltrated by men who pose as lesbians, whether they identify as trans women or not and whether they pass as women or not, leading many lesbians to feel unsafe at the thought of unknowingly going on a date with a man. Both in groups and dating sites, the presence of men who identify as trans women acts as a threat, leading to self-policing and silencing. Polls show the transgender ideology is deeply unpopular, especially among women and parents. In 2017, Obama told NPR that his promotion of the transgender ideology made it easier for Donald Trump to win the presidency. Multiple polls show that most Americans wish to help and comfort people who think they are a member of the opposite sex, even as they also reject the transgender ideology's claim that a person's legal sex is determined by their feeling of gender identity, not by biology. A UK survey shows a similar mix of some sympathy for people with lopsided opposition to the ideology. The transgender movement is diverse, so its different factions have different goals and priorities. It includes sexual liberationists, progressives, feminists who wish to blur distinctions between the two sexes, and people who glamorize the distinctions between the two sexes. It includes high-profile children, people who are trying to live as members of the opposite sex, and people trying to detransition back to their sex, Men who demand sex from lesbians, masculine autogenophiles who say are entitled to women's rights, wealthy donors, politicians, political professionals, and revenue-seeking drug companies and medical service providers. Transgender advocates claim that 2 million Americans say they are transgender to a greater or lesser extent. But very few people who describe themselves as transgender undergo cosmetic surgery of the genitals. Only about 4,118 Americans surgically altered their bodies in hospitals from 2000 to 2014 to appear like members of the opposite sex, according to a pro-transgender medical study. Yet the gender ideology is rapidly gaining power, aided by huge donations from wealthy individuals and medical companies. In Ohio, for example, in February, a judge forced parents of a teenage girl to give up custody so she can begin a lifetime of drug treatments and surgery that will allow her to appear as a male. The progressive push to bend Americans' attitudes and their male and female civic society around the idea of gender identity has already attacked and cracked many of the popular social rules that help Americans manage the cooperation and competition among and between complementary, different, and equal men and women. These pro-gender claims have an impact on different sex bathrooms, shelters for battered women, sports leagues for girls, hiking groups for boys, K-12 curricula, university speech codes, religious freedoms, free speech, the social status of women, parents' rights in child-rearing, children's safety, practices to help teenagers, health outcomes, women's ideals of beauty, culture and civic society, scientific research, prison safety, civic ceremonies, school rules, men's sense of masculinity, law enforcement, military culture, and children's sexual privacy.